Diets, if done properly, and for no more than 6 months, can be pretty successful. Fasting on only fruits and vegetables for about a month has been proven to not only help flush out toxins, but it clears up brain fog and realigns you spiritually. But how would you feel if condemned to eat the exact same meal until the day you die? No exceptions. We always see those Facebook posts where you have the option to choose what you would eat and what you'd be forced to give up for life. Some people say, goodbye burgers, adios cornbread, and a farewell to cabbage. But being sentenced to eat the same meal forever has got to be worse than death. Yes, some people have eating disorders that compel them to only eat one type of food and find other textures of food repulsive. But with therapy and trying other foods, that person can learn to enjoy other meals. But being told that you can't eat anything but one type of meal for the remainder of one's life sounds like insanity. That's exactly what happened to Paul. He wanted to never have to struggle for money ever again. So he visited a juju man. The juju man gave him a few options. Choose your sentence. You can either never sleep with a woman again, murder one of your closest relatives, or eat the exact same meal until the day that you die. Whichever you choose, you'll never lack for money ever again. But before you make your choice, think long and hard about what you are willing to live or live without. Yeah, he had relatives that he didn't get along with, but he didn't have the heart to hurt anyone. Now, with money comes women. He was young and handsome. He couldn't pass up the temptation of never touching a beautiful woman ever again. That was out of the question. It was a no-brainer for him. Eating the same meal was easy. After all, people should eat to live, not live to eat. So when he got hungry, he'd just eat and be done with it. He made his choice. All right. You can only eat boiled breadfruit and sardines in butter sauce. Okay. He didn't hate breadfruit, and sardines are okay. It wasn't a big deal. Or was it? He made his decision fast. The juju man called in a young woman to make Paul that meal. It took almost an hour for the meal to be prepared. The young woman appeared with a tray. The breadfruit was piping hot, and the sardines glistened in the butter sauce. It smelled really good, and tasted just as good. It was seasoned well and tasted quite nice. He ate it all, and then he was given ice-cold water, which he drank down. This was going to be easy. He could live comfortably, eat, and maybe someday have a beautiful wife and children. But it wasn't long before money started to appear in the house. One night he was sleeping when he heard something in the next room. He lived alone and thought someone was trying to break into the house. He armed himself with a knife he kept next to his bed, just in case. He held his breath as he tiptoed out of his room, half expecting to see a thief, but instead, he found stacks of money all over the room. He never slept a wink. He stayed up through the night, counting money. This was exactly what he needed. This money was going to serve its purpose on his life. He had more money than he knew what to do with. Every night when he went to sleep, he'd wake up to stacks and stacks of money in his house. Okay, fine, that's good, but he was running out of room. He opened up several bank accounts to save all that money. Then it happened. He became hungry and needed something to eat, and quick. He stopped at a local bakery shop and bought 2 freshly baked beef patties and a hot cup of coffee. Paul's stomach growled loudly as the smell of the hot pastries wafted into his nostrils. He reached into the greasy bag and wanted to take a bite. It was delicious. He chewed and swallowed. Bite after bite, he chomped on the pastries until it was all gone, and guzzled down the coffee he bought. He didn't notice the thin layer of perspiration that covered his brow. He just needed to address the hunger scratching at his belly. The food didn't settle right. It felt like he swallowed an entire watermelon. Shortly after, he felt sick and threw up the patty and the coffee. Instantly, he remembered what the juju man told him. He could only eat boiled breadfruit and sardines. He drove for miles until he found a local restaurant. He found a street vendor making the very thing he wanted. The vendor was a lovely young lady who packed his order into a nice white container. He paid for his food, hurried to his car, and devoured it. Her meal was slightly spiced different, but oh so good. He drank water and returned to his house to count more money. The meal stayed put in his stomach. Paul was able to buy whatever he wanted. He could travel, and if anyone needed money, he was more than happy to give it to them. He had lots of lady friends. The most beautiful woman he had ever seen came looking for him. It went on like that for almost a year. The only thing that was a hindrance to him was that stupid boiled breadfruit and buttered sardines. Oftentimes, he wanted to eat something like steak, rice, vegetables, and his favorite, black-eyed peas. When he went to parties, he couldn't eat anything other than what he was condemned to eat. It was exhausting to have to go through the same motions: peel the breadfruit, rinse it, boil it, add a pinch of salt, and move on to making his sardines sautéed in lemon juice and butter. Through a lot of trial and error, he realized he could season the food with black pepper. He had the option of not using salt. He could use more butter, or no butter at all. It pained him to take a beautiful woman to dinner, and she would order whatever she wanted, and he'd have to opt not to eat anything at all. He could drink liquor, and drank a great deal. He could indulge in that way, but sometimes he wanted grapefruit juice, a nice warm glass of milk, hibiscus tea, or his favorite, papaya juice. At times, he stuffed himself with this conditioned meal before going out on dates or to a party. Some people call breadfruit a poor man's meal. He wasn't poor. He began to think back on whether he made a bad decision. Oddly enough, he thought maybe murdering a relative would have been a better deal, but quickly reproached himself for thinking so negatively. He loved his family. Yet eating the same meal felt like torture. Paul didn't remember when he went back to the juju man, agreeing to give up his sister's newborn baby. He rationalized. She can always have another baby. She'll be okay. He just wanted to eat something different. Enjoy a mango. Have some roasted peanuts and Coca-Cola. Anything would be better than breadfruit and fish. Long after the infant died, Paul indulged himself in all sorts of tasty foods. He hated that his sister was inconsolable. Miscarriage after miscarriage, his sister slumped into a deeper depression. Paul felt horrible. So he went back to the Juju man and found that he couldn't revert back to his meal. If he was going to switch, then that would mean never being intimate with a woman. He wasn't about to do that. Vanity. But he had to do something to ease his sister's pain. Or would he?